Welcome to United Way of Summit and Medina's report to the community. Please take your seats for the commencement of our program. Please welcome Jim Mullen, President and CEO of United Way of Summit and Medina.
Good morning, everyone. I always say this, I hate to break up a good party, but we're about to get started. So if you guys can take your seats, please. So good morning, hello, and welcome to United Way of Summit and Medina's report to the community. We're incredibly grateful that you all have enjoyed it. Can we get everybody just to take their seats real quick so we can get started? Thank you. Before I jump into my comments, I do want to recognize a few people that are in the room today that you'll hear from later on today. We have a great opportunity at the end for you to hear from these folks, and I want to recognize a few of them that are in the room. So Tom, Danico, Shante, Asia, and Valerie. You'll hear from them later on the work of United Way, but they played an integral part of this event today, and we're very grateful that you all were a part of this, so thank you. Most years, our report to the community is an opportunity to talk about the positive impact of United Way of Summit and Medina's work is having across our community. I will take some time at the end to speak on that later. However, we recognize that this event is taking place at a very momentous time for us. Last month, the grand jury's decision on the death of Jalen Walker reopened many painful wounds for people across our community. We face an uncertain time for businesses as our economic landscape continues to shift, and soon we'll see new leadership in the Akron Mayor's office. At United Way, we have the honor of accounting among our many supporters many of the community's key business, civic, and spiritual leaders. At a time like this, that honor comes with the responsibility of engaging our supporters in honest discussions about our community's needs and how we can move forward together to build a better future for everyone. Today, we will be joined by a panel of community leaders for just that reason. We've invited these leaders here because of their work gives them a unique vantage point on the many challenges facing our community at this time. But we also know that they are not only leaders in this room. I urge all of you to take what you hear today and use it in the opportunity for future conversations. We look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. But first, I'd like to welcome our new board chair, Brad Wright, to share a few remarks.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. It is actually an honor, and I'm very humbled to be a part of the United Way, the staff that is working diligently every day, but it's also everyone in this room. You all make a difference to what we do, to what this community does, and I think the discussion we're going to have with the community later on will give us valuable insight into where we go into the future. We have to look a little bit to the past. Past 2 years, Michelle Sermonaro has served as our board chair. These were difficult times, and Michelle was a beacon to us all. She worked extremely hard and was really a consensus maker within United Way. And Michelle, I just want to thank you. If you could stand up for everyone to give you a brief applause. I know it wasn't easy. In a moment, I'm going to introduce Bishop David Parker, who is our Strategic Planning and Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Chair. He'll be inviting members of this audience, members of this community, up on stage to share their insight and thoughts on where we are. The conversation does not end with them. The conversation continues with all of you here and all of you in the outside community as well. I'd encourage you to listen, to think, and be ready to carry that conversation forward. So now, I'd like to welcome to the stage Bishop David Parker.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brad, and thank you to everyone that's here today. We're coming together now at a pivotal time for our community. It's an uncertain time. When I look across our Summit County and Medina County area today, when I speak to leaders, professionals, friends and people throughout the community, what I hear most is questions. Questions like, how do we come together in the face of a tragedy that has shaken our community to its core? How do we heal? How do we build a society where everyone feels safe and respected, and where justice belongs to everyone equally? Many in our community are asking, how can our community continue to thrive when economic forces are putting even the presence of some of our most important businesses, institutions, into questions? How can this community provide its young people with the skills and security they need to start careers and build families here in this area? Today, we're asking, what will Akron look like moving forward? What should it look like under new leadership? And perhaps the biggest question of all, how quickly can we change, and what will happen if we don't change enough? As much as we may like them to, none of these questions have easy answers, and it is no single person's responsibility to answer them alone. The future of Summit and Medina counties will depend on many, many conversations taking place across our community. Difficult conversations, conversations that bring together people with different backgrounds, perspectives, and ideas. Conversations in every neighborhood between people who won't always see eye to eye, but who share a commitment to the health and well-being of our community. And that's where United Way comes in. We count on the support of some of the most influential civic and business leaders Summit and Medina counties have to offer. I'm talking about all of you in this room today. Each of you has something to offer this conversation. Each of you can help our community find the answers it needs. Today, we're asking some of our community's most prominent leaders to join us for a conversation about the future of our community. It is a conversation we hope all of you will continue to have after this event is over. I truly believe we're facing a moment that will define our community for the next generation. It's up to us to ensure that our opportunity and our future is defined by shared sense of purpose, by compassion, by hope, and it is up to us to make this moment our defining moment. Now, I'd like to introduce to the stage this panel of distinguished individuals. Our first panelist is Kemp Boyd. As the Executive Director of Love Akron, Kemp Boyd pursues his mission of meeting people where they are and taking them where they need to go to make greater impact. With over a decade of leadership experience and a passion of motivating others, Kemp's mission is to empower those around him to reach their full potential. Kemp is a graduate of Leadership Akron, where he was elected class president by his fellow classmates. He is a dynamic and passionate leader, pastor, and coach who has been a vital change maker in Greater Akron for many years. Let's welcome Kemp to the stage. Thank you. Our next panelist is no stranger to us, County Executive Eileen Shapiro. Eileen Shapiro is serving her second term as Summit County Executive and is the first woman in Ohio to serve as county executive. As executive, she leads 10 unique departments and serves as the chief fiduciary officer for the county. She manages a budget of over $500 million. Executive Shapiro strives to make a positive impact on the lives of all Summit County residents. She's a champion for innovative projects and initiatives that foster collaboration. and position Summit County and its 31 municipalities to succeed. Let us welcome County Executive Eileen Shapiro. This next individual we've talked a lot about over these past few days. Let us welcome Shamus Malik. Shamus Malik serves on Akron City Council representing Northwest Akron. After winning the Democratic primary for mayor, he is the presumptive next mayor of Akron. Shamus was born and raised in Akron, attending Firestone High School. He received a bachelor's degree from The Ohio State University and then went on to graduate cum laude from Harvard Law School. Afterwards, Shamus returned to the community that made such a great impact on him, spending 2 years in the City of Akron Law Department before running for council. Shamus believes deeply that together we can build a stronger, more equitable Akron. Please join us in welcoming Shamus Malik to the stage. Our next panelist is Judy Hill. Judy is the president of the Akron chapter of the NAACP. A native of Overland, she worked for more than 30 years in Akron Public Schools, teaching and designing curriculum and serving as an administrator. She's a Sunday school teacher, a board member of Leadership Akron and Towpath Credit Union, and an advocate for abused and neglected children. Let us please welcome Judy Hill to the stage. Next, I would like to welcome Tracy Carter. Tracy Carter leads SUMA external affairs functions, including government relations. With 30 years of experience, Tracy co-led a collaborative that helped 60,000 Akron Canton residents gain health coverage through Ohio's Medicaid expansion program. She continued these advocacy efforts while serving as Vice President of Governmental Relations for Ohio's second largest public health system, the Metro Health System of Cleveland, Ohio. Tracy is an alumna of the Ohio University College of Business and the University of Michigan School of Public Health. She is a graduate of the Advisory Board Company Fellowship, Leadership Akron, and Leadership Cleveland programs. Please join us in welcoming Tracy Carter to the stage. And our final panelist is Tamika Rose. Tamika is the Deputy Chief of Staff for the City of Akron, where she oversees the implementation of many of the city's special priorities, including the city's allocation of ARPA funding and the Youth Violence Prevention Strategic Plan. Additionally, Ms. Rose serves as the city's Health Equity Ambassador, where she leads the efforts to decrease racial and ethnic disparities, particularly in premature birth and infant mortality. Tamika, please join us on stage. Let's welcome her. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Over the next hour or so, I will pose some questions with you. While I would like your initial answer to be brief so that everyone has an opportunity to share their thoughts, we hope these questions will serve as conversation starters. Now, let us begin. I'm going to present this question to everyone. What's the one word that describes how you feel today? We'll start with Tamika.
I am blessed to be here today. So that's my
Amen.
one word.
Amen. Amen. Now, if I say amen, just know I'm a preacher, and amen just comes natural when I hear something good. And I always tell the people, the more you say amen, the faster I go, and the faster I go, the sooner I get finished. So amen, everybody. Just elaborate on you being blessed.
So I'm blessed to be here today. I think so often people take for granted the act of waking up, putting on their clothes, and driving into work. And many of you that are on my Facebook page know that I have MS, so I am grateful and blessed to be sitting here with you today and to be an active member of the community.
Thank you. Excellent. Excellent. Tracy,
Yes, Pastor.
what's one word that describes how you feel today?
I am very inspired, and I say that word because I am very appreciative of United Way for having this agenda, having this discussion around something that's uncomfortable but necessary. So that's why I use the word inspired, to see that we're being intentional and deliberate about this conversation and what we can do differently moving forward.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Junie, what's one word that represents how you feel today?
I feel hopeful.
Excellent. Elaborate on that, please.
I am hopeful that the 800 some members of the audience will engage in this conversation in a way that lifts the city up in a way that we've not seen.
Shamus?
Energized.
Energized. Share more about that.
I've been having a lot of coffee. No. No, look, we just finished with the election, the campaign season, and now we have 7.5 months to put together this transition, and have had a lot of conversations with folks, but every day I get to go into spaces like this, and I'm so inspired and energized by the people in these rooms. I'm so confident that we have what we need to succeed. We just have to be having more of these conversations and then getting ready to take those actions.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. County Executive.
I am hopeful and I am optimistic. We have an absolutely amazing community. Summit and Medina, these are groups that work together. And we hear the clarion call when something happens to pull together and make a difference and clear a pathway and work together to create our future. So I am hopeful and I am optimistic.
Kemp.
Yeah, I'm humbled. I feel very humbled today, just simply because I'm on this panel with these very unique individuals who I, admire and for many of them look up to and have called for counsel. And so now to be sitting with them is a very humbling experience for sure.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you all for the answers on this first question. Our second question, I want to present this to Judy and Kemp. The tragic death of Jalen Walker and the events that followed have a profound effect on our community. So many here are asking, where do we go from here? As a leader in our community, how would you answer that question? Judy.
Oh, he doesn't bite his tongue. He gets right to it, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
Okay. So where do we go from here? I agree with Tracy that I think this opportunity that we have right here is a great start. One of the things that I have not seen as we had this conversation, as we went through this tragic event of Jalen Walker's death, is the opportunity for us to dialogue, to talk together. I believe we really have a lot of work to do to build trust, rebuild trust. We also have an opportunity here to come together and look at how we move the needle for the city. I'm a firm believer, and people that know me know I've said this a million times, if we keep the main thing, and that is how do we move the city forward, we can do so much together.
How has, I want to just follow up, how has this decision impacted your work and what you do?
The tragic death of Jalen Walker changed the trajectory of some of the work that we've been trying to do. Some of the health work we haven't been able to focus on, some of the other work, but we see all of this as a major piece of everything because it impacts our health, it impacts our education, it impacts our young people, it impacts the future as we move forward. And so it has been a driving force. I also am a mother and a grandmother. And I see my sons and my grandson. And it's scary. And so I think we have a chance to change the bar in this country, and Akron can set the bar. We've done it before. And I believe we can do that and change.
Excellent, excellent. Kemp, same question.
Could you repeat it for me?
Surely, as a leader in our community, how do you see where we go from here? And how has the decision impacted your work?
Yeah, I think where we go from here is to one another, because in one another, I believe, we find some of the reconciliation and healing that we're all desiring to feel. And so that doesn't mean like-mindedness, but I think it also means the people who may not be thinking the same. Because what we're not looking for, at least what I'm not looking for, is agreement, but I am looking for understanding. And I think that we can only get that as we begin to dialogue and speak and have conversations with each other. And the way this has impacted our work is that I think at Love Akron, we've been a lot more intentional with how do we help to create, if you will, platforms and pathways for people to intentionally convene themselves together from different, if you will, sectors, but also different beliefs and different sides of the road, right? And so we want to create, if you will, kind of a middle passage that people can kind of slowly but surely begin to integrate into, not to find agreement, but to find understanding. Because in the midst of all this, if you look across this room, everybody's different in one way or another. But it's going to take every single one of us to come together in order to what Judy said, which is I agree with, for us to thrive as a city, because we have done it before, and it's going to take all of us to do that, and to do that very well together.
Excellent, excellent. From the governmental sector, County Executive and Tamika, how have you seen this decision impact your work?
I think it is, not to be trite, it's put it on steroids, okay? So what was working within the community, both in, internally in the government, in the community, in our schools, and so on and so forth, it has a sharpened a focus, put conversations, if you don't have, I think, Kemp was talking about building trust, and I think Judy may have mentioned it as well. You don't have a relationship with somebody, you have no trust. And this is about getting the people that you know, reaching beyond your comfort zone. If I'm only talking to people that think like me, my vantage point is very narrow. So I would ask everybody to reach out to somebody you don't know and start a conversation, build a relationship, dovetailing on what Kemp Boyd was saying, because we have to be able not only to communicate, but to put some things in place that will steady our community, that will be visible so that our future kids can see it, our businesses can see it, our nonprofits all feel good about where we are going. Learn from the past, make improvements, figure out where we're going in the future. So we have to come together to have a plan and to work together across all kinds of sectors to get that done.
Thank you. How has this impacted, changed, affects the work that you do in government?
So I would say at the city, I would definitely agree it has been on steroids. I can say that some of you were at our Health Equity Summit last Wednesday, and there we did have Project Ujima and Minority Behavioral Health Group there to have a community circle. And I think that that is the beginning piece, is that we do encourage people to talk to one another, to build relationships with people that don't look like themselves. I can also say that we have updated our youth violence intervention and prevention strategic plan, and we have 8 pillars within that strategic plan, and I encourage all of you to go to our website and look at that and see how there's an opportunity for you to engage in assisting, because we at the city, regardless of who is the mayor, and I encourage, everyone to work very, very hard and diligently with Mayor-elect Malik next year to really move things forward, because it was put on steroids. So I think that that's where how it has been changed, is we moved quicker with the decision.
Now, this moving quicker, did it cause some things to shift as far as what your priorities were? Was it doing the same thing just quicker, or did you have to totally pivot to something else?
Ironically, we were already working towards this piece. We had hired Danico Buckley Knight 2 months before the incident occurred, and that was something that the mayor and I had already set in motion. We wanted to give money out to people for violence intervention prevention. I think that the difference is we didn't expect to have to shut the city down. We didn't expect those things. But in terms of our actions of what we did, those plans were already in place.
I want to give this to Kemp. Go ahead, jump in there, Kemp.
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen eventually, that somebody was going to get off here, so I'll be the person, all right? And I want to say this because I think it's important to say it, and Tamika alluded to it when she was talking about the Mayor's Health Equity Summit. I think for all of us, we've pivoted from an organization perspective because we're wanting to bring more awareness around mental health and the trauma that was associated with the verdict and also the death of Jayland Walker. Because all of us, it's not a person in this room that hasn't experienced trauma as a result. And so with this, what we've been able to pivot with, I would say at Love Akron, is really being intentional about mental health first aid training, but also the grief recovery method that was brought to us through Tracy Carter and a lot of the great work that she's been doing as we partner with the Adam Board of Summit County. And so as we've done this, we've been able to really get people in these rooms to really express and to talk about, from a vulnerability perspective, man, how they're feeling by asking one simple question: how are you? Not how are you doing, but how are you? Which has a different meaning behind it than versus saying how are you doing, because we all are caught up in the doing aspect of life. But I think when this happened, it all made us take a pause to really look internally at ourselves and say, man, how am I really in this moment and at this time? So I don't want to gloss over the mental health component aspect of this that I think we all are suffering with, so that we can raise a level of awareness when it comes to mental health, while also helping to reduce the stigma of a mental health challenge and helping people deal with the grief.
Tracy, can you just speak to the trauma that we faced and what this grief recovery means to our community?
So grief recovery is a nationally recognized, internationally recognized model that takes people through a process to identify what hurts their heart, and it takes them through a process over 6 to 8 weeks roughly to talk about the pain, what they're experiencing, and what they can do differently to heal in a more positive way from a mental, emotional, and physical perspective. And so it is a transformative process that a lot of people struggle with, because they don't like to feel pain, but pain is necessary to really get your breakthrough on so many levels. So I do appreciate Kemp bringing that to the table, that what happened to the Walker family, we on the outside are experiencing the aftermath of that too. And so I can just tell you from a business perspective at SUMA, what we did is we recognized the moment that it was painful, and we essentially activated dialogue circles so that any employee who felt and wanted to talk through what they were experiencing could be in a safe place to have that conversation and be heard, and also get some support on where to go if they needed some additional support. So I do appreciate Love Akron being available to come and be present with our employees to talk through what they were feeling. So that's one thing as an employer we did, is we activated dialogue circles. We actually reminded our employees of the employee assistance program that they should use if they needed more help talking through the mental and emotional stress of it all. And so that's what we've been able to do from an employer perspective.
Thank you. Thank you. Akron's recent experiences are part of a larger story that's playing out across our country and the world. How do we as community members and leaders make sense of our community's goals in this? And how can we be a part of the national and global conversation? We'll start with Judy.
I need this mic. I think one of the things that I think is missing in some of the conversations is we have to first understand that there is an issue. And if we don't all agree that there is an issue that needs to be addressed around police violence on our young people, and that we need to look at how we can police our communities better, if we don't come to that understanding first, then we are going to be re-traumatized, and it will continue to happen. But I believe that Akron, as I said before, could take the forefront here, look at where we are and what we're doing, take the models that we know to be working, and work them more effectively so that we can be a part of creating change on a national level. We can be that opportunity if we're willing to do so. Very simple. We talk about having conversations, but let's take it from conversation to action. We can talk about healing, but once we've healed, then where do we go from there? So we don't want to stop with a model. We want to continue so that we can help move the needle for the city.
County Executive.
Yeah, Pastor Parker. One of the things that I always ask people when we're having difficult conversations is give me some root causes. Give me some root causes that we can penetrate. Summit County was chosen as one of 8 communities across the country for something called Upward Mobility that was funded by the Gates Foundation. And the centerpiece of that was around poverty. The causes was, again, a root cause. And how then do we start to impact that? It's not, you don't flip a switch and then tomorrow it's fixed. How can we lay the groundwork for some of these underpinnings that are in our community so we can get that long-term effect and hopefully not only impact our younger folks who are going to create the future for some of us that are sitting in this room. You probably all have kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews that you are concerned about right now. So as a community, I'd like us to see, to spend some time having those dialogues and those conversations, but identifying 2 or 3 things that we could really concentrate on and impact and make a difference over time.
Thank you. Tamika.
I would agree with the county executive. I would also thank you, Kemp, for reminding me of last year's Health Equity Summit when we did pivot and go to mental health first, and then went into violence intervention this time. I would say that going forward, I would encourage the community to lobby for payment for grief recovery services, because that is something that is not covered under our private insurance as today, right, Tracy? And I think that that is something that is needed for everyone, from those that are on Medicaid to those that are sitting in here in this room. Grief recovery is real, and I think that everyone needs it, and especially we all need it here in the city of Akron and within Summit and Medina counties.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can.
Yes.
Just building off of what our county executive said, all of what the last few years has taught us, from this terrible, tragic killing to COVID, is how interlinked all of these issues are, from safety to education to housing to health. to jobs. And I think one thing that I've seen out there is that there is a lot of consensus. We all want safe schools. We all want safe streets. We all want good paying jobs. And what we have to do is move from those difficult conversations to the action. You know, Tamika is absolutely right. We have this youth violence strategic plan. We've been working at honing it and getting folks to the table. And now, how do we make sure we really hit our stride with the implementation? And that's true when it comes to, you know, some of the plans around health equity. That's true when it comes to the Elevate Greater Akron report. We have to move to that implementation phase because, sadly, you know, this is not likely to be the last tragedy that we have as a community. And so we have to make sure that we're setting in that work and that we don't have to pivot to the next thing.
Share with us your plan to bring community voices into that strategic plan.
And so, you know, in every piece of this conversation, we have to figure out what that looks like, and it's going to be different for different things, right? When it's development and planning, we have to make sure that we're having a community meeting, right? When it comes to policing, obviously, you know, Kemp is the chair of our new oversight board, but we have to make sure in those spaces that we're including every voice at the table, right? And that's why it was so important to try to have Imokai Okolo on that board, not just because of Imokai, but because he represents a voice that is frustrated, that is angry. And if we say, no, those opinions are off the table, those opinions are too far, then we are going to be the same place 20, 30 years later, right? Because we will have not faced those opinions. So whether he's on the board or not, we have to make sure to include those voices. And so I think that's what's key to me. But again, it's every single issue, figuring out what process works to bring voices in, and not you know, if you have an issue, come call us, but how do we go out on the front end and go looking for those voices?
Excellent, thank you. Tracy.
Pastor, I was just going to say, Executive Shapiro had mentioned the importance of including our young people in talking about change, the future of Akron, and I just want to give a shout out to the Akron Urban League. Teresa LeGreer and Brandy Davis are doing an amazing job convening the young people to talk about what they've experienced through the Jalen Walker tragedy and what they see being their greatest needs moving forward. And so to the extent we are welcoming and including young people at our decision-making table, that's, I think, going to be the game changer for this community moving forward.
Thank you. I really wish we could dig deeper into that conversation, but I do want to move on just due to our time. I want to start off with the county executive. Of course, the question of how we can make our community better and fairer is not just for civic leaders, it's one for business leaders as well. How can business leaders participate in the conversations taking place throughout our community? And what perspectives can they bring to move our community forward?
Well, that's a multi-pronged question. When we started to look at some of the things that had happened even prior to Jalen Walker's tragedy, what internally at the county could you probably all know I have a strong business background. What internally could we do? What kind of example could we set not only for our internal, but then hopefully external in terms of programs and processes? How do we build our employee base that they are philosophically aligned to the best of their ability? It's a free country. Where the organization, the business is going, what is your philosophy, and how do you include people in that conversation within your organization, not just to circle around you, but within the boundaries. People stop me in the grocery store, they stop me wherever they see me because they want to tell me something. And you got to make time in your organizations to be able to do that. You also have to have the employee services and those conversations that Tracy was talking about before. But at the end of the day, for most of you, you are in positions to impact what goes on inside of your organization. And if you don't walk the walk, I can guarantee you nobody else will. One of the things I want to jump back, and I want to come back to the business, but I want to jump back. One of the root causes when I was talking to people, especially around our opioid issue and addiction issue, because people medicate because they don't want to be in pain, I kept saying, what is one of the root causes? And the word that kept coming back to me was trauma. So all of the work around trauma-informed care, thank you, around trauma-informed care, behavioral health, addiction, all of those underpinnings in our community have to be changed. The other thing, I was at a meeting at the Greater Akron Chamber. One of the gentlemen that was sitting next, thank you, one of the gentlemen that was sitting next to me, the conversation was going around in 100 different places. You know, we could do this, we could do that. And he spoke up and said, he leads a large organization, give me one thing in my organization I can do. I can't do 14, give me one, and I will deliver on that one. So I would ask you, what is that one thing in your organization that you're willing to step up and get energy around both internally and externally?
Kemp wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, I want to go back, especially when you start talking about, thank you. I appreciate you, sister. Thank you so much. I want to go back to something that Judy said before. When you start talking about corporations, is the word that she used, and it's a very scary word for all of us. We need the corporate community to acknowledge what has happened. We need for them to acknowledge what has happened.
Yes.
And that some of these things in our community isn't just, we can't continue to go back to the status quo. And so a good friend of mine, buddy of mine, Steve Wild, he kind of said, hey, man, what can a person in my situation do? And I think, Judy, I told him those very words. I said, I need for individuals like you and who look like you to acknowledge what has happened, right? Well, here's the scary thing, people, when we start acknowledging these type of things, what internally happens within us, we want to do two things, right? Because there's a fear. We're either gonna self-protect or self-promote. And so we have to war against doing that within ourselves. We don't have to self-promote or self-protect when we simply acknowledge it, because here's what we're not saying. We're not saying that it's your fault. It's not what we're saying. We all play a role in this together, and the moment we can begin to acknowledge what has happened and what's going on, then can healing and movement actually happen. But until that takes place, we're gonna keep coming back and circling the same different conversations, and nothing ever gets done or happens. And so I just want to say that from a team approach. This is going to take a team effort, and there are many different positions on the team. I know a little something about this, okay? There are many different positions on the team, but we all have to acknowledge what has happened in order for us to move forward.
Could I jump right back in a second? I think our business community can make a big impact by looking at your supply chain, who you are doing business with, how you can advance minority and disadvantaged businesses as opposed to doing business as you can. Let me tell you a success story real quickly. About 3 or 4 years ago, we started an access to capital program for minority countries, and in 3 years, there have been, I'll get the numbers close, I'm doing it from the top of my head. Those 17 folks that have gone through their businesses have got just a hair under $5 million in contracts, put on 214 employees, and one of them has a contract with a national company that does fast food. That is how we start to change the dynamic, is bringing people and businesses to the table. And some of you are in positions to be able to do that. I'd ask you to think differently, and maybe you can create an opportunity, maybe for one of your employees, to spin off and create a business that will advance their family, the families that they hire, the schools that we support, and on and on.
Can I just add one point? Oh, go ahead. Thank you, Kim. I was feeling a little frustration up here because I believe that we do have everything we need in this room to make change in our city. I really do believe that. But if we don't start looking at the fact that Jalen Walker incident opened up a door, it opened the door of what could be, and it opened us up to the rest of the world.
Amen.
And so what we have to decide in Akron right now is, do we want people to think that is the Akron? Or do we want them to believe that the Akron that you and I know it can be and has been is the Akron we want them to see? So by saying that, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not going to preach, but I have a minute. So by saying that, I would hope that in our own organizations, we not just look at our supply chains, we look at our commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, we look at those statements that we wrote after George Floyd, we look at those things and take them to heart and see what we can do differently. And the other thing that drives me crazy, we still talk about the business community, the community, the this. Folks, we're Akron. And if we don't start changing that mindset, we're gonna fail. I'm sorry, I'm done.
I think that I applaud Suma and Tracy and all of the conversations that you have, and I encourage all of the other businesses in this room to implement those in your businesses, because I think that they need to, regardless of if you're black or white, right? The Jalen Walker incident impacted all of us. Our new Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Tammy Tucker, has stated that numerous times to all of us at the City of Akron. This impacted all of us, and everyone has experienced trauma. And the only way that we're going to move forward is if we all talk about it, and I encourage every business in here today to do the same thing that Suma did. That is allowing for people to have a space to talk about it in their place. But as we all know, a lot of you guys all went to work from home, and it's at a hybrid level. I think that that also is playing a part on our mental health, because it is dividing us. We are not around different people every day as we were when we were going to work every day. And so I think that that plays a key part in it too. If we come into work and we're around different people, that allows for us to have a different sense of how other people are feeling as well.
Thank you. Tracy, did you have something you
I
wanted to
have so many thoughts, Pastor. A lot of conversation about what corporations can do, and my thoughts are focused on what you can control. I'm looking across the room, and there are many people here who don't live in Akron, but work or derive a lot of success from Akron, and so to the extent our businesses, small, medium, and large, are partnering with the school system, connecting with the Jobs Ohio, I think it's Jobs for Ohio graduates, to provide young people with mentoring, internship opportunities. All of those partnerships ultimately help people move from poverty to prosperity. And so that's what the individual businesses can do that are in the room today. And again, focusing on what you can control when it comes to your diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda. SUMA has a plan. We've been on a journey 25 years. Our board of directors, our executive leadership team has a scorecard saying we're gonna do better. We're gonna change systems, policies, procedures, and services to have a different outcome relative to opportunity and equity for different groups. And so there's accountability, there's transparency that's discussed and debated quarterly at our high level of leadership of our organization. So that's what we're doing. Because we control, we can own that, and I think ultimately we'll have some success.
You know, Bishop, Judy mentioned, you know, we have a choice, right? We can choose whether to be the Akron of the worst headlines or the Akron that we know in our hearts it can be. And what excites me, what energizes me about this, someone said to me, and Tracy, you just used the word connected, right? I mean, we are all connected in here. And we really, these plans that we have, we can bring them fully to fruition if we truly are coordinated and connected in a better way. United Way is at the center of that, right? United Way leverages the talent and the treasure and the resources of this entire community, assembled people and people who are not in this room, right? And we have those partnerships in places, but when I look at a thing like the Youth Violence Strategic Plan, to take it from thing on paper to something that will truly prevent violence in our community, it takes every person in here, not just, you know, figuring out how to help internally, that's important, but figuring out how we can plug every single person in here into those roles.
Thank you. Thank you. Our last question is this. So often we get together as leaders and discuss what needs to change in our community and our neighborhoods, and we overlook what's working. What's something positive that people would be surprised to learn about our community? Shamus, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I'll just keep talking on the point I was making, which is that really what gives me so much hope is that we live in a community full of people who give back, right? Everybody here wants to help, wants to be a part of the solution, wants to be a part of change. You see it in big and small ways in your daily life, right? The point that I want to make is that we have an opportunity to really connect and coordinate that in a way that has never happened before. We have the opportunity with the partnerships we have, with the organizations we have, with the advent of technology. We have the opportunity, people said steroids, right? Am I allowed to say steroids, Coach? Right? We have the opportunity to put that on steroids, right? But one thing that gives me so much hope is the people in this room.
Mm-hmm. Judy, pick that up right there.
Yes, collaboration. When we put together issue 10, I will have you to know that it was because of the love of this community that it happened, number one. Number two, the individuals that came together, there were political entities, there were community, there were pastors. It was individuals who said, what can we do to give the community members a win? I don't recall too many opportunities in Akron where that happened before. There are individuals in this room, and I'm not going to call them out, who actually gave us funding to support that work because they believed that we needed to make change, but we needed to do it together. I hope that we can spread and continue the collaboration work. And I like the fact that you mentioned that the Urban League has been working with young people. The NAACP under Dr. Goggins has been doing the same thing. We have to keep engaging not just the kids at the top, because folks, our kids at the top, they're going to be fine. But we've got some kids out there who need us in a different kind of way. And so we want to keep moving the needle for them as well. And so I believe it's that kind of collaboration and reaching and making sure that as many voices as possible are at least given the opportunity to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, is this working?
Yes.
So the other day, last week rather, we have a search going on for a new superintendent at APS. And they had hired a headhunting group, recruiter. The first question that they asked, there were maybe 10 of us, they're doing a series of them. The first question they ask is, tell me what's right and good about APS, about Akron Public Schools. And I gotta tell you, there was a long laundry list of what people put in. We need to be better ambassadors for the good that we have in this community and get that word out to other people to start changing this. And these were unsolicited, so I was really excited about that.
Excellent, excellent.
I do want to say, before I get to what's going on really good, as far as Tamika and what Tracy was saying, as far as kudos to SUMA with leaning in and meeting their employees where they are, I want to say that Akron Children's Hospital did that as well, led by my friend, my sister, Burnett Williams, who really reached out and wanted to know how to do that well. So I'm really, really appreciative of corporations taking the time to really put their employees first, to give them that platform. That's something that's really well is our ability to be able to hear one another. I think something else that's really going well is this is still God's city. Regardless of where you line up, where you lean from a faith perspective, I'm always going to come from that perspective for me. I'm always going to talk about my faith. This is still his city. I think what I see when I see churches, synagogues, even mosques coming together and leading together to say, hey, we have a real challenge here, but not everybody going back into their silo as far as their beliefs. And because, man, one may believe in Jesus, one doesn't believe in Jesus, what they're centering around is what's happening, what's going on. So I want to give a shout out to Bishop Joey Johnson, Pastor Deontay Lavender for leading the Love and Justice Coalition, but also Brother Stephen Muhammad, who is a Muslim, but also Rabbi Josh Brown, who is a rabbi who has a synagogue. And so when you start to see groups coming like that, faith groups coming together like that, it means a lot. And it says a lot about how we're really only going to get through this, not by staying in our silos, but by getting out of our silos, our own communities. As Judy said before, we're just Akron, right? And so we've allowed language and words to divide us, and we have to change the narrative and the language that really helps to unify us, not towards unification. That's not what we're wanting, but we have to get unity around some of these things that are going on. And I think that's the really, Pastor Parker, some of the great things that are happening that are good, is that we're able to acknowledge the differences, but say, hey man, here's what makes us similar. We all don't like what's happening. And so how do we allow our faith to lead us in helping to be the change that our city needs?
Thank you. I want to circle back. Quickly. We talked about civic engagements in our local businesses, and it's always been an important part of the fabric of our community. Our business landscape is changing. What challenges do you all see in our community from a business engagement standpoint? I'll start with Tracy, and then we'll go to Shamas.
I would just say we have to engage differently, meaning, yes, SUMA's the biggest. We're accustomed to people coming to us for opportunity, but so much has happened over the last 3-4 years that the world has changed, where we have to change. We have to go where people are. And if that means meeting people, like last week I went to the Herbally to participate with the young people around speed dating to talk about healthcare and employment opportunities, so be it. I got to go where the young people are gathering. If I have to go to the senior or the rec center to engage with seniors to talk about what we had to offer them, so be it. So it requires us to be a little more flexible, a little more humble in connecting what it is we have to offer to where individuals are in the community. So I think that's a good thing. That's a plus.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing so many headwinds, right? We're dealing with inflation and everything that brings. We're dealing with tremendous issues around workforce, and it impacts everybody. It impacts small, medium, and large businesses alike. And we're going to have to figure out what the future of downtown looks like when we have a bunch of buildings that are empty. And it's going to be turbulent. It's going to be messy. But I think we are arriving at some ideas. You know, there are obstacles that we can pull out of the way for people, right? We can make sure folks have better access to affordable childcare, high quality affordable childcare. We can have better access to internet, transportation. We can make sure that we're helping people get access to trauma-informed care, right? And as we do that from the government and the kind of civil society perspective, I think that will help make the case for our businesses to be able to invest and make sure that they're on solid footing for years to come.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't look at the training that needs to go behind the industries, not only of our stabilized, but the future. These folks, these kids that are 12 and 14 years old, I mean, really some of the work that the College and Career Academies at the University of Akron are doing, at Akron Public Schools are doing, is really amazing. That is your future workforce. That's one of the tenets of the county. We spend a lot of time and energy in getting that and thinking a little bit differently about how we connect opportunities for those folks who probably don't have a voice, don't know how to work a system, don't know how to get to anybody. That is where I believe the future is. And as long as some of us are here to be able to connect those dots for those folks and build the pipeline that we need to attract the businesses that feed your organizations, while we're challenged by the same time of having lost so many people out of the workforce. We always knew there was going to be a graying of America. COVID just accelerated it. And now working from home, somebody said before, you don't have that connection with people every single day. You got to set up a Zoom to talk to somebody. It's kind of crazy, but that's the world that we live in. So we are challenged to figure out how to change our enterprises to be able to work in that kind. And I hear many companies saying, I'm going to make my folks come back to work because they're losing that humanistic quality. But importantly, not having somebody younger or just new to your organization sitting next to you, learning from you. I was talking to somebody at Kent State about a year or so ago, maybe a little longer, and they said research says if you can't be seen in your organization, your chances for advancement are a lot less. So I think it's incumbent, you all run different businesses, nonprofits, and so on and so forth, to challenge yourself about where the future talent is and help us build that pipeline. It is everybody's responsibility. That's what makes your businesses run, is the people that's in it and their talents and their belief structures. So
I really want to delve deeper into this, and I think this is a greater conversation that if we had more time, we could really go a long way. I'm going to go speed dating round, seeing as speed dating has already been thrown out there. Let me ask you something. What would you say to someone that is looking to make a difference in our community but doesn't know where to start? And I want to do this speed dating. Let's do very quickly. Tamika.
I would say go to any of the CDCs here, Middlebury, Progressive Alliance, North Hill. They all have different initiatives in every community, and I think that that is one of the greatest assets that we have here in the city of Akron.
Tracy.
She took my answer. But I will also say, call United Way to find out where you can volunteer, because they have a great handle on nonprofits opportunities across the community.
Excellent. Judy.
And I would say partner with one of the schools if you're not partnering. The NAACP is partnering with Jennings because we want to make sure that they understand what community looks like and what it feels like. And so there's a place for all of us, because as we build future leaders, that's the place to do it.
Shamus.
I'd say look at what excites you and interests you, and then find somebody who's working in that, and just reach out and see if they'll talk to you. Chances are they will. I look out there, I can see Christine Mayer. It wasn't that long ago, I was a young law student home for the summer, and I saw the interesting stuff she was doing. I just sent an email out and said, would you have time to get a cup of coffee? And I think about what has stemmed from things like that. And thank you, Christine. But thank you to everybody who's done that for me. We have the opportunity to do that for others.
County Executive.
Kind of the same thing, but I say find out what interests you and then just go places. Go places, talk to people. They will lead you. You don't know going out what it is that you want. And remember, people don't see you as you see yourself. There's probably hidden talents there that somebody else sees in you that's willing to bring it out. So just go out there and meet some people, and you'll figure it out as you go.
Kemp.
Sister, you read my mail. Like, I mean, essentially, that's what I did. Like, I didn't know people. Hold on, don't stand up yet. You stand up because you're trying to wrap me up. Hold on now. But no, I think, yeah, two preachers, that's right. But he's a bishop, so he wins out. I know order now. But yeah, I would say, I agree with everybody, what everybody said up here. Let's not overlook the fact of mentorship. And please don't be afraid to mentor someone. And you're never too old to have a mentor, okay? And so I would say lean into that, get into that uncomfortable space, because being uncomfortable is where we experience our most growth.
Thank you to our esteemed panel. Let's put our hands together for them. Shall we stand? Thank you all for just hearing us out, and I hope and pray that you got something there that you can wrap your mind around. I want to thank all of you for participating. Thank you to you all. Now I'd like to welcome my friend and the United Way Summit and Medina's president and CEO, Jim Mullen.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. How about one more round of applause for that group? And for our leader, Bishop Parker. Thank you. All right, so you're going to get me off the podium, which means hopefully when I'm done with this, you all feel like this actually came from my heart. And that's what I'm hoping for, is that you feel heartfelt when I'm done here. But before I do that, just a couple quick thank yous. The first thank you is to Greg Mervis and his staff. The Knight Center does such an incredible job each and every time, and we threw them for a loop this year by moving this about a month. So if you guys will help me in giving them a round of applause. And not to be outdone, we have a pretty incredible staff at United Way as well. So I'm going to ask all our staff, you that are in the room, if you don't mind standing up. Stand up, don't be shy. I get the unique opportunity to work with what I believe is the best nonprofit staff in all of our community here in Summit Medina, and they make all this come together, so thank you all. And last but certainly not least for us is our board. We have an incredible board that really continually, I think, steps up and shows leadership for us each and every day by allowing us to be visionaries and thought-provoking and thought leaders in this community. and it really starts with them. So a round of applause for our board. So you heard the group mention, how do we move from healing to recovery? How do we move from conversation to action? And I'm going to talk about what I feel is the United Way's role in that work. And I believe we have a substantial role in both Summit and Medina counties to be a key part of that moving from healing to recovery and moving from conversation to action. Over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, you all have heard me at nausea on this stage and other places around the community talk about the bold goals. Well, guess what? I'm not going to do that today. I think you all know what the bold goals are. I think you all know how they play and how they work into what was discussed on this stage a few minutes ago. And I'm going to talk about something different. So as you all know, we had 2 men of faith on this stage. So I'm glad they're off because I may use a couple of F words here. And with those F words, they might be a little uncomfortable, but they're not actually the F words that you all are thinking. There's 2 things that I think for United Way of Summit and Medina that are important right now as we speak in 2023, coming off of a grand jury decision, civil unrest, global pandemic, transition, and it's really faith and fundamentals. So when I think of faith, I think of things that are said all the time. We need to restore faith in humanity. We need to restore faith in systems. We need to restore faith in individuals. But when we think about it, that word restoration, many of you probably don't think about it very often, but restoration is a very specific term, and it means to return something to what it used to be. So when we talk about restoring faith in humanity, or restoring faith in systems, or restoring faith in each other, it's the wrong word altogether, especially at this point in this time for our United Way and for this community. And what the word we should be using is reinvigorate, which reinvigorate means we're bringing a new energy, ideas, and thoughts to an old existing plan. And when we think about faith in systems and faith in humanity and faith in each other, I cannot think of a more important and critical time in this city, this community, and this country to do more to reinvigorate our faith in each other, our faith in systems, and our faith in moving forward. So how do we do that? Well, we do that through fundamentals. Fundamentals. Getting back to the basics of who we are and what this community needs us to be. At United Way, the first thing we're going to do, and we're going to do this tirelessly as a staff and as volunteers, is we're going to assume positive intent. Assume positive intent. Far too many times we walk into a room, you all have done it, and you look at who that cast of characters are and you automatically come in with a negative thought process. But if we just take a little different approach, no matter what we're doing, and we walk in and say, I'm going to walk into this space assuming positive intent across the board, that every single person I'm sitting down with has the best intentions for those faith things. Faith in reinvigorating systems, faith in restoring each other, and faith in general humanity. I think we'll win. The other thing that was said quite a bit, and I've said it before, you cannot have an authentic relationship without trust. We have to reestablish trust in this community, and that is going to take time. But it's going to take time because we have a lot of work to do. But if we truly work diligently at restoring faith as a community, we will start to see change happen. If we start with that positive intent, we build those relationships, and we establish faith in each other, we will start to see systems break down. We'll start to see ideas that were never asked to be a part of something before shared at a table, and we'll really start to see change happen. How do we do that? Well, I think the first thing is, and I hear this all the time, if you don't know this, social isolation is at an all-time high in this country. Coming out of the pandemic, Zoom meetings, people working from home, people less out in the community, more people are only engaging with the people within their short sphere more and more every single day. So the first thing I'm going to ask every person in this room, expand your table. Expand your table. Find a different table. Invite other people to a table. Whatever you have to do to move from that social isolation to a place where we expand our thinking, where we invite somebody we haven't invited before, where we get a different thought system that is ours, where we're not looking for assimilation, but we're looking for differences to really move ourselves forward as a community. And I think we can do that. And the last thing for United Way of Summit and Medina that we're going to do is we're going to show up. So one of the things that I think is important about United Way of Summit and Medina that we've continually done over the last 8 years is we do what we say we're going to do. A prime example is what we did today. The easier road would have been to do what we always do. Invite you all here to hear about all the great corporate success we've had and the challenges of this community and how United Way is going to address them. But we knew at this point in time, United Way needed to do everything we possibly could do in this community to convene the right people, no matter how uncomfortable it felt, to have a conversation. And then move that conversation from a point of discussion and dialogue to an opportunity to do something about it. So there's lots of ways to do that here at United Way of Summit and Medina. You heard Tracy, thank you very much, mention that we have numerous volunteer opportunities in this community for people to get involved. But I think we also have a long-standing, established diversity, equity, and inclusion team that works tirelessly at bringing the message out into the community through things like Bridges Out of Summit County, implicit bias trainings, consultation. We're there and we're ready at any time. But we're also going to do things like our new program that's launching as we speak, which is Youth United. Youth United is a partnership with the Harold Varner Foundation, an Akron native and professional golfer, and First Tee of Greater Akron. And we're aligning mentors to students within the Akron Public Schools to give them real experiential opportunities connected to their college and career pathway. We need your help. We need your help. So we need additional leaders. There's almost 900 people in this room. We need 30 of you to step up. There's a QR code on your table. There's a flyer. Sign up. You heard about mentorship. Kemp mentioned it. It's really important to connect caring adults in this community to opportunities for people to succeed. That's one opportunity. The second opportunity is a very special project that we've talked about numerous times on this stage. We have the Sojourner Truth Committee in the middle of the room. The Sojourner Truth Legacy Plaza is coming alive, and it'll be here soon. That plaza is about halfway under construction, and we need your help. Why do we need your help? Because everything we've talked about today, Sojourner talked about 170 years ago. And that's the fact of reinvigorating a thought process of who we are and what we can be. We want this plaza to be a beacon for this community. This is a long idea, decades long, from a very dedicated group of individuals, and it's now coming to life. We also need your help here. There's a gap. We're a little short. So if you can give anything, now is the time to do that. Push us over that gap so we can make sure this plaza gets done and done on time. The last thing that I'll talk about that's an opportunity continues to be the work that we do in each and every neighborhood across both Summit and Medina counties. It doesn't matter if you're calling 211 and you're in Twinsburg, calling 211 and you're in Lodi, going to our Financial Empowerment Center on Kenmore Boulevard, going to our Family Resource Center in North Hill or East Akron. We're in each and every neighborhood in this community delivering services. But it's not just us. It's core partners in this work, and we need more. Because everyone talked about it. The kids that are going to be successful, their path is played for them. They're going to be successful. But the kids that need an extra push, each and every step of the way, we have robust volunteer opportunities for you to engage with those kids and get them to a place of sustainability and success to ensure the health of our long-term future. So we're asking you all, go to our website, uwsummitmedina.org, look at those volunteer opportunities. Be on our listserv, ongoing volunteer opportunities. There's incredible ways for you to do that. But don't listen to me. I'm just one person, part of one organization in this great community whose focus has changed. Listen to the people on this video that we're about to show you who are really the people each and every day that have seen success. They've seen their path change. They've seen the opportunities in front of them. And it's been delivered through great partnership led by United Way of Summit and Medina. So we'll leave you with this. Enjoy the video, and thank you all so much for being with us this afternoon.
My name is Asia Davis.
Tom O'Connell.
Valerie Pittman.
Danico Buckley Knight.
Shantae, and I'm from Goodyear Heights. I love Goodyear Heights. It takes a village to raise a family, and here I have the support I need for me and my daughter.
I faced a lot of challenges in my life, but there's just something about being from Akron that has given me the grit to persevere, especially with the resources right here in our own neighborhoods.
What makes Medina County great is how people are willing to come together. Whether it's building up homes in neighborhoods or helping people find stability, people here care about each other.
Growing up in Elizabeth Park, we had a lot of positive figures and activities that set us up for success. Now, I want to make sure that those same opportunities are available in our neighborhoods today.
When I first moved to Akron, it felt like home. It felt comfortable. My kids are getting a better education than what I did growing up and more opportunities to succeed. My hope for the future is that other people in my neighborhood will feel the same.
Dozens of neighborhoods make up the heart of our community, each one filled with diverse cultures, experiences, and points of view. United Way of Summit and Medina believes that all neighborhoods and the people that call them home deserve the opportunity to grow, to thrive, and to build lasting success. That's why United Way provides supportive services in our community, in locations like our financial empowerment centers in Akron and Medina, and family resource centers in Akron Public Schools. We work with our community, in schools, businesses, and with partners throughout Summit and Medina counties. We go to where the needs are, creating positive change for our community, connecting people with help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
When I needed help, United Way was there in my neighborhood. They helped me with my education, and now they're helping my kids with theirs.
United Way and the City of Akron are working to empower the younger generation, to develop their voices and talents, to be the decision makers, and to stand up for what they believe in.
Leveraging our partnership to create innovative opportunities for our residents to access affordable housing and build the financial stability they need to thrive will make a huge impact in our community for years to come.
I want to start a cycle of generational wealth for my daughter. With the help of United Way's Financial Empowerment Center, I'm going to be able to accomplish that. My hope is that more people in our community will reach out and get the resources they need to build a better future too.
Some days there was times when I actually went places and the help wasn't there. United Way was there for me. Now I have good credit. I bought a car for the first time in my life. The resources United Way empowered me with changed my life more than I ever thought possible. I advocate for my neighbors because with United Way, I know they can get on the right path too.